Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
That we're all thinking, gotta shout it out while we're around. We've been hit so hard that we're still reeling. We've been taken down, not taken out. Let me hear you make some noise. All we have is this moment now. Come on, let's take the night while we have it. Nothing more left to lose. Let's take a chance while we got it. Nothing more left to lose. So many times that we trusted and got burned, we get back up on our feet again. Learn my lessons till my fingers bleed, but it's worth it when we take the stage. Let me hear you make some noise. All we have is this moment now. Come on, let's take the night while we have it. Nothing more left to lose. Let's take the chance while we got it. Nothing more left to lose. Let's take the night while we have it. Nothing more left to lose. Let's take the chance while we got it. Nothing more left to lose. Come on, let's take the night while we have it. Nothing more left to lose. Let's take the chance while we got it. Nothing more left to lose.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy, lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
Oh, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing is important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Fine. Then let's race.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to PF International Circuit here in Lincolnshire. It is the home of Trent Valley Kart Club, and we are continuing on with our fantastic first weekend of the 2019 Motorsport UK British Kart Championships for the IAME classes. For IAME Cadet, Mini, Junior and Senior X30. Jake Sanson in the commentary box all day long as we go through time qualifying, the heats, the repêchages and the second finals of the weekend after a busy day at the office yesterday. Time qualifying has kicked off for IAME Cadet, and it is obviously going to be a very important one for these guys. Everything has been wiped clean. The championship results for yesterday are one thing, but now we are completely hitting the reset button. Yesterday was round one, today is round two, and we're doing it all over again. The drivers are now on their flying laps as the competitors in IAME Cadet Time Qualifying 3, because of course we had all of the sessions yesterday. The drivers are now pounding around getting some early laps in as they compete for pole position. Aidan Neate, Harley Keeble, Brandon Carr, Kian Nakamura Berta, Archie Clark, Maximus Hall, Finn McLaughlin, Sonny Smith, Kai Bacchini, Lewis Bird, Hadi Mamassi, Lewis Werrell, Will Knight, Kian Geraghty, Newman Chi, Fraser Anderson, Dan Sofronea and George Edgar as they battle away around the circuit for the first of the 2 timed qualifying sessions for IAME Cadet as they duel away for pole position. It will be a tough one because the weather is a little bit cooler than it was yesterday. In terms of the weather conditions, we are still being told that there's not going to be any rain over the course of the day, although the clouds overhead would suggest otherwise. Air temperature 6 degrees Celsius, track temperature is probably only about 8 degrees. So for a lot of the drivers, this is perfect conditions in terms of getting the tyres up to temperature, because you want a cooler circuit for the kart to go faster as possible. So the drivers are now banging in those fast lap times as they want to go for pole position. The first major flying lap comes in for each of the drivers on their second lap. And as they come through, at the end of that timed run, it is Harley Keeble, who is currently in provisional pole position from Kian Nakamura Berta, from Brandon Carr and Aidan Neate, Finn McLaughlin, and the boxer Kai Bacchini from Archie Clark, Lewis Werrell, Maximus Hall, and Sonny Smith in the top 10. So that's where the drivers currently stand after their first time laps. Looking at the times from earlier in the warm-up sessions, the fastest man from this morning's warm-up was actually Harry Jr. Burgoyne, who's coming out in the second session later. He set a time of a 1:10.56, so we're already faster than that. And it's going to be very interesting to see who is going to get the ultimate fast lap time. Qualifying yesterday saw a fastest lap of 1:08.80 from Sonny Smith, who is in this particular session. So if they're going to go for pole position, they need to be considering a high 1:08 time. It might even be able to get a bit quicker than that. But it's obviously going to be very tricky to see how things progress from here on out. We will see how the racing develops, but it is going to be absolutely fantastic to watch all of the race action. And there'll be an amazing battle as IAME Cadet continues on. Now we're getting the fast laps in, a 1:09.11, 2 minutes on the clock. And Kian Nakamura Berta now holds provisional pole position. These are the sort of laps we're expecting to get for pole position now. Kian Nakamura Berta on a 1:09.11 from Brandon Carr in second, Harley Keeble third, Archie Clark, Finn McLaughlin and Kai Bacchini are in the mix from Sonny Smith, Maximus Hall, Aidan Neate and Lewis Werrell, Bird, Will Knight, Kian Geraghty, then Dan Sofronea, Newman Chi, Hadi Mamassi, Fraser Anderson and George Edgar will be in the mix together. So there's obviously going to be quite a lot of battles for the drivers as they run in formation. But there are going to be a handful of those competitors who will want to push their way further forward through the grid. And after yesterday's battle, if you weren't around yesterday, incidentally, we had some fantastic race action across each of the competitions in IAME Cadet. We'll talk to you a little bit about that in more detail in between qualifying groups, because we're in the first group. The times are coming down again. Kian Nakamura Berta does a 1:08.81, which is already 100th of a second off what Sonny Smith achieved in yesterday's qualifying session. So it looks as though we're going to go faster with a minute to go in the session than we did yesterday. Kian Nakamura Berta is the top. Finn McLaughlin has now come up to second from Harley Keeble. Brandon Carr and Kai Bacchini right up in the top 5 from Archie Clark and Aidan Neate, with Lewis Werrell, Sonny Smith way down in 9th place for Maximus Hall, Will Knight and Lewis Bird, Kian Geraghty, Hadi Mamassi and Newman Chi, then Sofronea, Edgar and Anderson, 2.5 seconds covering the entire grid in this particular group. But it is going to tighten up as the checkered flag is going to come this time by for a handful of the drivers. They might well get a second, they might well get a 6th time lap, sorry. Some of them are only going to complete this time lap, and that will be that. But there are going to be a handful of drivers that will be able to get one more qualifying lap in. And I think it's going to be this first 7 or 8 drivers who will get an additional lap. They come across the line now. 5 seconds on the clock. 3, 2, 1, and the checkered is going to come out in time for Archie Clark and Kai Bacchini. Finn McLaughlin and Sonny Smith have come through. Lewis Werrell beats Sonny Smith over the line. It looks to me as though the only drivers really who are going to get another qualifying lap in are Nakamura Berta, Neate, Keeble and Carr, All of the others have been classified as finished. Finn McLaughlin going third fastest on a 108.83. Kian Nakamura-Berta's done a 108.48. That's much faster than yesterday's qualifying best. So we're still going to battle away with these four. Nakamura-Berta, Neat, Keeble and Carr. Not bad from Archie Clark and Kai Boccini. They are 6th and 7th and will be at that. Lewis Werrell, Sonny Smith and Maximus Hall. From Lewis Bird, Will Knight, Cian Geraghty, Hadi Mamasi, Newman Chi, Dan Sofranea, Fraser Anderson and George Edgar. But there are still 4 drivers who can grab pole position. At the moment, it's Kian Nakamura-Berta who's in that place. 2nd place for Aidan Neat. Then Harley Keeble and Brandon Carr, who won yesterday's final. So now they will battle away. Let's see who's going to come through and get that final flying lap in. Checkered flag is flying. Who's it going to be? Will it be Nakamura-Berta or will it be Neat? The checkered flag will come down this time by, and it's going to be Nakamura-Berta. He gets a 108.48. He doesn't improve on his last time lap. Harley Keeble, though, comes up to 2nd in front of Brandon Carr, with Aidan Neat in 4th place, Finn McLaughlin down to 5th, then Archie Clark and Kai Boccini in 7th place, from Lewis Werrell, Sonny Smith, Maximus Hall in the top 10. And then it is Lewis Bird from Will Knight, Cian Geraghty, Hadi Mamasi, Newman Chi, Dan Sofranea, Fraser Anderson and George Edgar. That is your list at the moment as the drivers continue to battle away for position. And that is after the end of the first time group. So they will continue to battle away once more. But we're obviously going to have a really exciting tussle for the pole position from the second group as well, because there are plenty of drivers who can bag pole position. After yesterday's qualifying event, of course, we had from yesterday, it was Sonny Smith who went fastest of all in qualifying with a 108.80. But he went from pole position to a very exciting battle. Won the first heat in front of Harley Keeble and Brandon Carr. The second heat yesterday went to Vinnie Phillips in front of Keeble and Carr. And then the third heat was the one by Aidan Neat in front of the brilliantly talented Macaulay Bishop and Harry Junior Burgoyne. And then obviously we came into the repechage, which was won by Sky Parker. She booked her place in the A final along with Newman Chi, Jack Cunningham, Fraser Anderson, Ben Smith and George Edgar. And then we went into a brilliant final, which was eventually won by Brandon Carr, who now takes the lead of the championship with 65 points. Vinnie Phillips is 2nd, having been 2nd in yesterday's race, 3 points back. And Kian Nakamura-Berta rounded out the podium in 3rd. So a really exciting battle yesterday. We're going to see another one today for definite, because we have so many great talents within this field. But that is timed qualifying completed for the first timed group. And it's Kian Nakamura-Berta, the Japanese driver, who is on the top spot, having completed a lap of 108.48, which is almost half a second faster than the lap we got yesterday from Sonny Smith. So we'll see a really exciting battle in today's IAME Cadet races, no doubt, as the form book has been changed around a little bit. Pole position yesterday, Sonny Smith, only 9th in this time group today. So a very difficult start to the day for Sonny Smith. And obviously he's going to need to work hard to bring himself back into position. But the man who will challenge for that top spot is going to be Vinnie Phillips, who will run from the front of his time group. Leo Robinson, Ethan Jeff Hall, Harry Junior Burgoyne and Macaulay Bishop will be in the next lot, with Alex O'Grady, Cathal Clark, Zachary Knight, Nathan Ty, Ellis Stevens, Joe Katsantonis, Mason Rudman, Eden Spanswick, Sky Parker, Ewan Downing, Jack Cunningham, Ben Smith and Jack Mowat. So those drivers will be competing for pole position to try and topple Kian Nakamura-Berta from the top of his list. And we will see what happens as they come into the timed qualifying session again from this group. 9:55 by my math, so it's going to be 6 minutes on the clock when the drivers are ready to head out on circuit. Obviously the competitors in IAME Cadet need to be very much on their A game very early doors as they come out onto the circuit. The green flag flies on the top of the starting gantry, so the drivers from the second time group of IAME Cadet will now head out onto the circuit in their bid to challenge for the top spot. So it's always going to be very competitive. They've done an absolutely fantastic job thus far, the competitors in IAME Cadet, but it is going to be a tough battle to get to pole position, with Kian Nakamura-Berta bidding for that top spot. And they will always want to get up to that front end of the field as fast as humanly possible. The drivers now getting onto the back straight as they dial in for another fast lap. But Vinnie Phillips has had a really strong battle with all of the competitors trying to dial themselves in for a clean lap. The only person who appears not to have gone out onto the circuit, according to the timing screen, is Ewan Downing. So Ewan Downing has not gone out on circuit yet. I wonder if he's got a problem of some kind, because normally in the IAME Cadet they don't like to wait around. They want to get straight out on circuit and get up to speed pretty quickly. So I wonder if Ewan Downing has had a slight difficulty. Well, we will keep an eye on that, and we'll double check as the session progresses. But Vinnie Phillips has a clear target, which is to beat that time of Kian Nakamura-Berta, who has managed to come up with a very quick time indeed. A 1:08.48 is the time to beat. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, the first lap around the circuit is not very indicative of what they are going to be able to do, because they have come out of the pits in the process of getting themselves up to speed. Harry Junior Burgoyne, for the record, is the fastest from this time group at the present moment. From Ethan Jeff Hall, Vinnie Phillips, Leo Robinson and Nathan Tye, then Alex O'Grady and Macaulay Bishop, Zach Knight and Ella Stevens, Joe Katzentonis and Eden Spanswick, Cahal Clark and Mason Rudman, Sky Parker and Jack Cunningham from Jack Mowat and Ben Smith. Still no sign of the Evolve Motorsport driver Ewan Downing. Hopefully he's going to make an appearance, as a bit of a spin there for one of the Oliver Rowland Motorsport karts. I think that's Sky Parker, who's had a little bit of a slip in the first hairpin, but she's got plenty of time to get back up to speed again. Was very impressive in yesterday's repechage, took the lead and disappeared into the distance, and it's races like that that give you a truckload of confidence. Hopefully we'll see her towards the sharp end again here today. But the drivers are obviously trying to get the most out of their karts around this PF International circuit. A very fast racetrack indeed. Air temperature 6 degrees Celsius. So the track temperature is only going to be about 2 degrees more than that. And if the clouds continue to hang low over the circuit, then it's likely to remain fairly cool. Harry Junior Burgoyne, the fastest on track at present. A 1:10.04 in his first flying lap in front of Vinnie Phillips. According to the Met Office, we were checking yesterday what the weather was going to be like, and it said yesterday that there was a very vague chance of rain. Now there is a 40% chance of a little smattering of rain in the course of the next hour. But once that has passed, it is set to be pretty much even and calm for the rest of the day. We are not expecting any rain after the next 5-10 minutes, according to the Met Office. So if it doesn't fall now, it's unlikely to fall for the rest of the day, which is a very big sigh of relief for a lot of the drivers, although I did notice quite a few of them managed to get hold of their wet tyres just to be on the safe side. But it is one of those days, I guess, where it could be fairly unpredictable. Here come the drivers down the main straight, looking for a fast time, and on pole position thus far, it is still Kian Nakamura-Berta, although Harry Junior Burgoyne's just popped up with a 1:08.88 on his second flying lap, so it's definitely going to be a tough battle for pole position, because they're trying to gain the time to close up on Nakamura-Berta's time from the first group. This is the second group, of course. And with Harry Junior Burgoyne on a 1:08.88, this is going to be mighty quick. Vinnie Phillips is in second position, in front of Leo Robinson, then Nathan Tye, Ethan Jeff Hall, and Macaulay Bishop. And then in seventh position so far, it is Alex O'Grady, the Irishman, from Zachary Knight, Cahal Clark, and Ella Stevens. From Eden Spanswick and Mason Rudman, then Joe Katzentonis and Jack Cunningham, Jack Mowat and Sky Parker, and then Ben Smith. Of course, Sky Parker is going to move up through the field just because of that little spin of hers on the previous lap. She's going to need to get another clean lap in to be truly representative of the sort of times we're going to get from her. But that shouldn't be too difficult. Now, we're going to get the drivers coming through this next timed lap. They'll come onto the main straight once again and over the line. And it's Alex O'Grady moving into second position. Harry Junior Burgoyne does not improve on this particular lap. It's still in the 1:08s, though, and he's the only driver who has done so at this point. Alex O'Grady, second position now in the time group, ahead of Vinnie Phillips. Great work from the Irishman. He's really making leaps and bounds in this Fusion Motorsport squad. It's Alex O'Grady, and it seems as though every session he makes another gargantuan leap forward. He's currently out on track working with his teammate Vinnie Phillips as they run at the head of the queue. And then it is one of these strawberry karts that has got to be the 18 of Ethan Jeff Hall, who is there in the top 6, running very smoothly indeed at this point. Harry Junior Burgoyne and Leo Robinson are trying to make up ground as well. Harry Junior Burgoyne, fastest in this group, has done a 1:08.88 as a best time. That puts him 6th overall, according to the virtual points, virtual qualification classification on the timing screen in front of me. So it would be at this stage, Nakamura Berta from pole, then Keeble, Carr, Neat and McLaughlin from the previous group, then Harry Junior Burgoyne in the top of this group. But the others have not quite broken into that gap yet. They are sure to soon, though. Checkered flag. Leo Robinson goes fastest on a 1:08.77. That's a cracking lap, and Macaulay Bishop pops up on a 1:09.08, up into third position in the group. But it is not going to be enough to topple Nakamura Berta. This group is just not at the same pace. However, Alex O'Grady and Vinnie Phillips are still pushing on out at the front of this time group, so they still have a chance to bag the ultimate pole position. They went through with time to spare. Harry Junior Burgoyne at the head of the queue behind them crossed the finish line, so his timed qualifying run is done. Only 2 men now can grab pole position away from Kian Nakamura Berta, and they are his teammates, Alex O'Grady, the Irishman, and in number 7, Vinnie Phillips, the man who was second yesterday. This is going to be one heck of a battle as they come through the final section. It's so far Nakamura Berta from Keeble, Carr and Neat, then Leo Robinson, who is on the top spot at the moment in this group, but I'm not sure he's going to get any further than 5th. Is there going to be a change? Vinnie Phillips up to 3rd, O'Grady up to 4th in the time group, but it's not going to be enough to topple Kian Nakamura Berta from the top spot. So Vinnie Phillips does make his way into the top 8 overall, but it's a pole position for Kian Nakamura Berta from the time qualifying session. Keeble is 2nd from Brandon Carr and Aidan Neat. Then Leo Robinson in a brilliant 5th place ahead of Finn McLaughlin, the Irishman. And then it is Harry Junior Burgoyne in front of Vinnie Phillips. So that is your top 8 overall. And they are the only 8 drivers to get a lap in under 1:09 seconds. So a really impressive performance there from several of the drivers in the field. Good effort too from Alex O'Grady and also from the privateer Macaulay Bishop, just a whisker in front of Nathan Tye. Then it is in this group Ethan Jeff Hall in front of Ellis Stevens, Zach Knight and Cahal Clark. Then it is Joe Katsantonis and Jack Cunningham, Eden Spanswick and Mason Rudman, Jack Mowat, Sky Parker and Ben Smith. No time at all, unfortunately, from Ewan Downing. Hopefully he'll be able to recover from the back of the grid. So that is time qualifying completed then for IAME Cadet. They've done a fantastic job of getting around the circuit, and on the whole, they have gone quicker today than they did yesterday. That bodes well for the remaining qualifying sessions, so we should see some very fast pace from all of the drivers out on circuit today. And we are getting ourselves ready for the next qualifying group, which is going to be for the Junior X30 battle. Now, if you weren't around yesterday or couldn't attend and need a bit of an update as to what happened yesterday, well, we'll give you a quick flyby. Qualifying went the way of Joe Taylor in the end yesterday with a 58.58, a full 0.2 of a second quicker than anybody else. Charlie Cole got a banging lap in pole position in 2nd place in front of Freddie Spindlow, Sam Shaw, Josh Rowledge and Archie Walker. Incredibly, though, when we got to the races themselves, none of those 6 drivers ended up on the overall podium. The first heat went the way of Josh Rowledge in front of Oliver Gray and Alex Lee, with Tom Edgar in 4th from Oliver Behrman and Georgi Dimitrov. In the second heat, it went the way of Alessandro Serenetti in front of his teammate Sam Shaw, and then it was Ivan Lomliev in 3rd place ahead of Caden McQueen and Aaron Walker. Josh McLean coming home in P6. The green flag flies and the drivers head out onto the grid for their qualifying session. Heat 3 yesterday went the way of Josh Rowledge ahead of Reggie Dewey and Joe Taylor from Alessandro Serenetti, Georgi Dimitrov and Caden McQueen. And in Heat 4, it was Alex Lee who picked up a brilliant victory ahead of Tyler Reed and Oliver Gray from the Jamaican star Kalai Atkins, Freddie Spindlow and the Japanese racer Douglas Bolger. With all sorts of battles and excitement through the pack, it was always going to be very close. But then we had our repechage, which was won by Zach Meakin in front of Rashan Chigarimbo, Darryl Taylor, Archie Walker, Sam Hawthorne and Aaron Reshepi. And then we came to our final, which was eventually won after a fantastic battle by Georgi Dimitrov ahead of Oliver Behrman and Alessandro Selenetti, with the final top 6 drivers being Tom Edgar, Oliver Gray and Caden McQueen. Junior X30 yesterday was absolutely stellar, and it was completely unpredictable, with at least 20 drivers in this field able to win the final today. and at least 30 of them able to get on the podium. It's absolutely nail-biting stuff in Junior X30, and we're not entirely sure how it's going to play out. One thing we do know, though, is that it's going to be mighty, mighty close, and there will be some sensational races to come over the course of the next few minutes, obviously because we're setting them up through timed qualifying. The first qualifying lap is being completed by drivers, although, of course, it is their first lap out of the pits, so it's not a true indication as to where they're going to be in terms of their actual laps. But for the record, it is Georgi Dimitrov who is out on track. The yellow flags at the Litchfield Bridge. Georgi Dimitrov has set the fastest time thus far. Oliver Duffel has just gone on to his first flying lap, but there's a yellow flag at the Litchfield Bridge. Can't see who it is that has not continued on. I'm wondering if that is... that could be Mikai Singh who's not continuing on for the Pierce Sexton Racing Team. He may have pulled off the circuit at Litchfield Bridge because he is the only driver, I think, who has not come through. So Mikai Singh may be about to fall right down to the bottom of the list. Oliver Duffel, meanwhile, has crossed the line but is waiting for the queue to catch him up so that he can slot himself into a decent position. Yellow flags are out, of course, under the Litchfield Bridge, so technically speaking, the drivers should be slowing down under time qualifying conditions. The flags are withdrawn, and that is obviously because a rather unhappy Mikai Singh has now fallen down to the bottom of the timesheets, and he will not complete qualifying. What a shame. He only got a 107.88, but broke down or had an incident of some kind on the second time lap for him, and that means that Mikai Singh, sadly, will now drop to the bottom of the queue, and I don't think he's going to be anywhere near the far end of the grid. So, out in front at the moment after the first time qualifying lap, it's actually Reggie Dewey who's now making his way through in the middle of the pack as they charge down the main straight. Pole position goes the way of Serenetti, then Shaw, then Rowledge. Darrell Taylor up to P4. Up to second goes Sam Heading now. Murdoch goes fastest, then Gray. Gray comes fastest on a 59.82. So Oliver Gray with a 59.82 second lap goes to the top spot. And then Reggie Dewey goes faster still on a 59.69. The AP Racing squad with their RS kart absolutely rapid in the hands of Reggie Dewey. So Dewey holds the top spot for the moment in front of Oliver Gray and Will Murdoch. Then it is Georgi Dimitrov and Ivan Lomliev, Josh McLean, Josh Rowledge and Chris Harnan. The drivers are now starting to filter around the circuit, some going fast, others trying to position themselves into a good piece of track in order to gain the best possible draft and get good track position. It works for some. Others find they prefer to be out in clean air, but it's always easier to work with another driver. And particularly, drivers will work very hard indeed to gain good track position out on circuit. It's never going to be particularly easy to get right. But now they come through at the end of their next time qualifying lap. McLean comes up to second place. Josh McLean on Oliver Gray in third now. From Murdoch, Dimitrov and Lomliev, Josh Rowledge. Reggie Dewey goes through and goes faster still. A 59.50. 2/10 clear of the rest of the pack. Georgi Dimitrov now pops up to second. Just 800ths off Dewey. Lomliev up to third. A great run there from the Coles Racing driver. So it's Dewey, Dimitrov, Lomliev, McLean, Gray, Murdoch, Harnan, Rowledge, Cottrell and Butterworth in this group. Then Harvey Ryby's done a brilliant job so far to get into 11th place, along with Max Meir, the Welshman, Sam Heading and Aaron Rescepi, the Swiss ace. Then Dylan Hotchin and Sam Shaw. Alessandro Serenetti, the Italian, not going as well as he could be, nor is his teammate Sam Shaw, of course. Marcus Littlewood. Then Tom Leben, who's having a difficulty in qualifying at the moment. Darrell Taylor, Sam Hawthorne, Tyler Reed's having a shocker down in 22nd for this group. Then Drew Davidson, Oliver Duffel, and Mikai Singh, who broke down, of course, after the Litchfield Bridge. Here they come again. And this is going to be their penultimate qualifying lap time. Serenetti goes fastest. There we go, 59.47. 300ths of a second ahead of Reggie Dewey. Dewey responds straight away with a time 1/10 quicker than Alessandro Serenetti. Dimitrov goes quicker still by 600ths. Dimitrov goes to pole position. The confidence of yesterday clearly still sky high. And out of pole position drops Dewey as Georgi Dimitrov goes faster still. So it's Dimitrov, Dewey and Lomliev from Serenetti, Will Murdoch and Sam Heading. Then Josh McLean, Tyler Reed back up to 8th place now. Dan Butterworth and Oliver Gray ahead of Chris Harnan and Harvey Ryby. Then Tom Leben, Harry Cottrell, Darrell Taylor, Josh Rowledge way down in 16th. From Max Meir, Sam Hawthorne and Aaron Reshepi. The checkered flag will come out this time by, and it's going to be a tough run to the flag. Let's see who's going to get the victory for pole position in this time group. Across the line first is going to be Alessandro Saranetti. Can he go pole? No, he does not. Up to pole goes Reed, then Murdoch. Murdoch does a 59.09. Are we going to get into the 58s for qualifying? We'll have to see. Across the line goes Dewey. He goes second on a 59.24. What about Dimitrov? He's the next big threat. Second, 59.23. But Will Murdoch has grabbed pole position in fantastic style as Max Meir is cruising down the main straight after a breakdown at the very end of qualifying. What a shame for Max Meir. He tootles to a stop just before the finish line. So Max Meir is not going to complete his final qualifying lap. And that means that Will Murdoch is in the top spot for this qualifying group. A brilliant run for the ST Racing squad. Georgi Dimitrov is there in second place. Good run from Georgi after yesterday's final victory. And then it is Reggie Dewey ahead of Tyler Reed, who comes up to fourth place. From Ivan Lomliev, Sam Heading, Josh McLean, Marcus Littlewood responding in eighth place. Ahead of Alessandro Saranetti and Chris Harnan. Great qualifying from Harvey Ryby. He can be very happy with 11th place. That's much better. Sam Shaw in 12th. Darrell Taylor and Dan Butterworth from Josh Rowledge, who'll be scratching his head at where he lost those 0.6 of a second back to Will Murdoch. Oliver Gray will have the same problem. Down in 16th place. Then Harry Cottrell and Oliver Duffel. Dylan Hodgkin, Tom Leben, nearly 0.7 back. Sam Hawthorne, more than that back. And then Aaron Reshepi, Max Meir, Drew Davidson, and Mikai Singh after his problem on his first flying lap. So a very dramatic qualifying session from that particular time group. It was all smiles yesterday at BKC Racing. Now it looks as though they're scratching their heads with Alessandro Saranetti only in 9th place and Sam Shaw in 12th. So they got a 1-2 in one of the heats yesterday. It's looking harder and harder to predict that that could be the case for them this time. But Will Murdoch and the ST Racing squad must be absolutely delighted with that. A really good result for them in qualifying. And Will Murdoch being on the top spot is no accident. He has always been one of the most talented drivers in this field. And it's great to see him up at the sharp end, especially when you consider that he was okay in the warm-up this morning, but he wasn't setting the world on fire. He was up in 6th position on his Tony Kart, but he didn't really manage to get high enough in the warm-up to really put anybody's tongues wagging. But he is 0.14 of a second quicker than Georgi Dimitrov, and then Reggie Dewey is just 100th of a second back from that. Then Tyler Reed, Ivan Lomliev, Sam Heading, Josh McLean, Marcus Littlewood, Alessandro Saranetti, and the Dutchman Chris Harnan. That's your top 10. We're now going to have the second time group come out and see if they can topple the time of Will Murdoch. But a 59.09 is going to be a very hard time to beat, if we're brutally honest. That is going to be a tough one. And everybody's going to be keeping an eye on the timing screens as in walks Mikai Singh. A real shame because he was showing amazing pace yesterday and really genuinely looked like he could crack the top 5. So it's a disappointment for him that he's not really able to show what he can do from time qualifying. It's such a close battle, though, in Junior X30. These guys can literally be covered by a second most of the time. So it's a real shame that Mikai Singh doesn't properly get the chance to show his true credit and caliber as they walk the parallel chassis in. There's positivity in their smiles, but Mikai Singh will be back. He will be pushing back into the mix again. Do not worry. The Piers Sexton Racing team will have him ready to rock and roll again later on in the day. The only way is forward from here. Green flag flies at the top of the gantry, and the second time group for Junior X30 now comes out for time qualifying. And again, this is a very important one for each of the youngsters in this field. After yesterday's battle, there are plenty of people to go racing with. And there's obviously going to be a lot of great characters to try and battle for this pole position. There is a long, long battle ahead of us for Junior X30 honours. And we'll see lots of great duelling and great action as the drivers compete for the top spot. They jostle away for position. Track position, of course. They all want to get into a good part of the race circuit and get themselves up to speed. A few drivers waiting for a few of the others to catch up, but the trouble is you're all jostling away for position, but as a result, the traffic gets quite tricky and you waste time warming up the tyres and brakes, trying to get yourself good track position, and a few of the drivers are being a little bit hesitant in getting themselves up to speed quickly. It all needs to be fairly even, but the problem is that the drivers are not really able to get themselves up into a decent position until they really get up to speed. But here they go. For the record, the first lap completed is obviously the slowest one of time qualifying because it includes the time it takes to get out of the pits and get up to speed on the main straight. And it, for the record, is Zach Meakin, who is currently fastest, from Rashan Chigarimbo, Ben Jenkins, and the Jamaican driver Kalai Atkins for Croc Promotion. But there's going to be a lot of changes in this particular gaggle of drivers. We can see leading the pack around the circuit, it is Zach Meakin for the Fusion Motorsport team. Won the repechage yesterday, but has the ability to win the whole thing. He just caught up in some difficult moments yesterday. So Zach Meakin will be pushing very hard indeed to get back to the top spot, and that can all happen from qualifying. He leads the field around and obviously feels he's got plenty of speed in behind him that he can charge his way forward. But we're going to see some really tough battles from the drivers as Zach Meakin leads them round out of the final turn, the first flying lap. And Meakin goes fastest on a 1:01.89. Immediately Chigarimbo defeats that with a 1:01.43, a 1:01.03 for Spindlow. Cole goes second, Bolger third. Oliver Behrman comes up from the back to fifth position. And Aaron Walker for the Strawberry Racing team, the 15, has come up further to fourth place. So his namesake, Aaron J. Walker, not to be confused with Aaron Walker, who's at the Strawberry Racing team. Aaron J. Walker is part of the Dan Holland Racing team, the number 80, and he is just off the top 10, but not by much. It's currently Spindlow on the top spot from Cole, Bolger. Then it's Aaron Walker, Rashan Chigarimbo, and Oliver Behrman. Blake Anglis, Tom Edgar, the Swede Wilgard Edqvist, and Zach Meakin from Archie Walker, Ben Jenkins, Aaron J. Walker, James Walker. There's billions of them with that surname in this field. JP Sleater and Oscar Joyce, Alex Moody and Kasper Skuza, the Polish racer, from Jamie Mead and Carl Atkins. Then Caden McQueen, Alex Lee, Jacob McComb and Joe Taylor. But expect those four to charge forward in the qualifying session. They were yesterday. Chigarimbo goes top, Mead, then Skuza, Spindlow, Cole, Bolger. Bolger goes top, Behrman goes top, Edgar goes top, and Caden McQueen goes to the top spot now. Alex Lee comes up to second position. So an absolute shuffle of the deck then as Caden McQueen goes to the top spot in qualifying for the Croc Promotion team. Alex Lee now second in front of Tom Edgar, Oliver Behrman, Douglas Bolger, the Japanese racer, in fifth place ahead of Aaron Walker. Then Charlie Cole, Blake Anglis, Aaron J. Walker and Joe Taylor in the top 10. I did say those four at the back were not going to be staying there for long. 11th is Wilgard Edqvist. The entire field is covered by 2.4 seconds, although from first down to 20th, there's 1.2, so it's ridiculously close. So we're going to see lots of great action from them today. So now the drivers are obviously going to be battling away down the main straight again. Rashan Chigarimbo goes up to 13th initially. Is there going to be more shuffling? Yes, Spindlow goes fastest of all. Behrman goes to the top. Edgar goes to the top. Now Joe Taylor for Coles. By 0.04 of a second over Oliver Behrman, goes to the top spot. So Joe Taylor now hits the front. Now, what does that do in terms of the overall qualifying? Because obviously it's all going to come down to whether or not they can topple Will Murdoch. Well, Joe Taylor's time is currently good enough for 8th overall. So they need to keep pushing and finding a bit more time. Some of them are trying to find track position more than find the fast lap. And that's the tricky difficulty. They've got to time it and balance it right. But for Joe Taylor, he's got a minute now. So I would say this qualifying lap plus the next one, and that's it. They're not going to get another lap time in, so they'll only get a total of 6 laps in time qualifying, which for 6 minutes, it's about right, really. But the checkered flag is going to come out next time around, and it's going to be very, very tight for the drivers to get a fast lap in. What's there going to be? Joe Taylor still on top with a 59.44. There are improvements, but not so many. Caden McQueen goes fastest, though, a 59.39. Now, that puts him 6th overall. Alex Lee up to 2nd place. Joe Taylor remains in the top 3. In 3rd place, however, as Aaron Walker for Strawberry Racing comes up to 4th in front of Oliver Behrman, Tom Edgar, Freddie Spindlow, Blake Anglis, Wilgard Edqvist, and Douglas Bolger in the top 10. Then it's Casper Skuza and a trio of walkers. Archie, Aaron J. and James. Then Zach Meakin and Charlie Cole. Jamie Mead and Rashan Chikarimbo from Ben Jenkins. Jacob McComb, Alex Moody, JP Sleater. And Kalai Atkins, who seems to have a problem, has brought the kart into the pits, we think. And unfortunately, his session has been well and truly compromised. Just off the pace from him is Oscar Joyce. But the checkered flag is going to come this time. The time has run down to 0, so it's now or never. McQueen's time is a 59.39, but that's 3/10 away from Will Murdoch. Where's it going to be in terms of the time lapse? Across the line, is there going to be a change for pole position? Not at the front yet. Rasha Chikarimbo breaks briefly to the top 10. Oliver Behrman goes fastest, then Joe Taylor goes faster still. That's good enough for second place. Can anybody go faster? No! So Joe Taylor misses out on pole position by 100th of a second to Will Murdoch. Murdoch gets it by 100th. Then it's Taylor, Behrman, Caden McQueen, and Georgie Dimitrov from the first group. Then Reggie Dewey, Tyler Reed, Alex Lee comes up to 8th overall from Ivan Lomliev, and then Tom Edgar sets the same time in this group. So it's very close to the top end of the Junior X30 overall field. In this time group, it's Taylor that's the fastest from Oliver Behrman and Caden McQueen. Then Alex Lee, Tom Edgar, and then Aaron Walker from Charlie Cole, Freddie Spindler, who bailed out of his final qualifying lap, clearly feeling that he was not going to get a faster lap by the look of things. And then it was Aaron J. Walker up to 9th in front of Blake Anglis. Then Douglas Bolger, Rashan Chikarimbo, Wilgert Edqvist, Jamie Mead, Casper Skuza, Archie Walker, Zach Meakin, JP Sleater, James Walker, Jacob McComb, Alex Moody, Ben Jenkins, Kalai Atkins, and Oscar Joyce. So that is your field after that one, and a really good battle with so many competitors. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic battle. A really exciting tussle for position. So there is going to be some absolutely sensational qualifying session and some really good battles to come from the Junior X30 races later on. Senior X30 qualifying is about to kick off, and we'll see some terrific races from them. But there's lots of action to come over the course of the day here in the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships from PF International, the IAME classes second round.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up a shot.
Fine. Then let's race.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
So as the drivers get themselves ready for the Senior X30 time qualifying group, yesterday for round one was very busy indeed. Let's talk you through a bit of a roundup as to what happened as the green flag flies and the drivers are sent out for their first exploratory lap around the circuit for Senior X30 qualifying. Yesterday was a very hectic day at the office. The eventual pole position sitter was Gus Lawrence by only 0.02 of a second in front of Cole Kilner, with Nelson King, Alex Pendlebury, Elliot Harvey and Clayton Ravenscroft all within 0.2 of a second of the pole time. And Lewis Gilbert in 7th position. We had a dramatic day at the races, with Gus Lawrence taking the first heat victory in front of Elliot Harvey and Teddy Pritchard-Williams, with Thomas Turner and Axel Laflamme in the top 6, along with Nelson King. Lewis Gilbert was originally in that third position spot, but was given a front fairing penalty, unfortunately. Then disaster in his second heat, as he duelled away at the start of the race, but unfortunately, heading into the first corner of that second heat, he was bang out of luck as he crashed with Morgan Porter and Nelson King, as well as two of the others that were involved in that particular incident. They got away without having to retire from the race. But in the incident, Gilbert damaged his wrist. Now, I'm not sure whether he's going to be out there again for this one today, because obviously if he's damaged his wrist to a certain extent that he can't drive, then he will have to sit out today's action. And that is very disastrous for a man who many people tipped to be one of the favourites for the British Senior X30 title in 2019. So if he's hurt his wrist that badly, then he's going to have to miss today's action as well, which means he'll leave here with no points when potentially there are, of course, 130 on offer over the course of a weekend, and that's a lot of points to make up. Okay, technically, you can still use dropped scores into account, but that doesn't mean it isn't going to be hard for him to make up the ground. In that heat where he crashed, it was Clayton Ravenscroft who took the victory in front of Cole Kilner, Oliver Hodgson, Derek Morgan, Matthias Zagazeta, and Thomas Wood. We saw some really good action from his earlier heat, Clayton Ravenscroft, when he won ahead of Oliver Hodgson and Mark Kimber. And obviously joining him in that front end of the dais, we also had in fourth place Louis Westover from Cole Kilner and Luke Whitehead, who had a topsy-turvy day at the office yesterday, but showed amazing speed and resilience all the way through. In Heat 3, it was Gus Lawrence who took his second victory from Elliot Harvey and Louis Westover, then Thomas Turner, Mark Kimber and Charlie Lamb in the top six. We've already told you about the heat which saw the crash between King, Gilbert and Porter at the start of the race, and then obviously Ravenscroft took in the victory from Kilner, Hodgson, Morgan, Zagazeta and Wood. In the repechage, it was Alex Lloyd who came through to take the victory after a difficult day at the office in front of Nelson King, with Eduardo Cosseteng, Jensen Brown and Morgan Porter just ahead of Alex Wang. Those six bought their ticket into the final, which was eventually won after an amazing fight back by Clayton Ravenscroft as he and Mark Kimber set about chasing after Gus Lawrence, who initially got a 2-second lead. And Clayton Ravenscroft was able to fight back and get the lead away. So Ravenscroft got the victory in the final yesterday from Gus Lawrence and Mark Kimber, then Thomas Turner, Cole Kilner and Lewis Malin. So they reset everything coming into today. In the earlier warm-up session, the fastest man of the warm-up was Gus Lawrence, who did a 58.22, 0.06 of a second quicker than Mark Kimber, and a further 9 ahead of Clayton Ravenscroft. So it's those three, yet again, who will likely be the contenders for the race victory again. And they were in the top three over the course of yesterday, so we expect them to be there again. The first flying laps are coming in, and it's Axel Laflamme who's at the top at the moment on a 59.33. Up to second comes Ben Hodge in front of Ryan Green and Louis Maurice. Alex Wang now goes fastest on a 59.32, but there's going to be plenty of drivers now storming up through to get a fast lap in. Up to third goes Teddy Pritchard-Williams. Alex Patterson into the top six. Abigail Ross tucks in behind Ryan Green. Ravenscroft's first flying lap is enough to put him on a 59.76. He means business straight out of the blocks here. That lap is going to be beaten by him very quickly indeed, but a very big statement of intent. His first flying lap is under 60 seconds, and that's a real sign that Ravenscroft is not going to do things by halves today. Axel Laflamme goes fastest again, a 58.89, and that's going to be a tough lap to compete with. So Laflamme, 58.89 for him. Alex Wang second from Pritchard-Williams, Hodge, Hunt, Patterson, Green and Ravenscroft, Reese Ojijima, and in the top 10, Abigail Ross. From Robbie Hudson, the Frenchman, Louis Maurice, Archie Tillett, the Swedish lady, Matilda Olsen, and then Harry Barlow, Josh Graham and Thomas Wood. From Callum Driscoll and the Filipino driver, Eduardo Cosseteng. Then Jensen Brown, Cole Kilner, Alex Lloyd, Nelson King, Jack Gordon, Mark Kimber and Piers Henderson. The three Strawberry Racing drivers at the back, but they won't stay there long. Here come the field. Up to the top spot. Well, up to third goes Matilda Olsen. Up to the top goes Hudson. Ahead of Mark Kimber and Clayton Ravenscroft. Then Alex Lloyd comes up to fourth in front of Laflamme and Reese Ojijima. Nelson King, Cole Kilner, Ben Hodge and Matilda Olsen in the top 10 now. Unfortunately, there is that ultimate speed I thought we were going to see from Matilda Olsen yesterday. They had all sorts of problems for the Swede, the 18-year-old from Uppsala in Sweden. Yesterday, she had no end of mechanical problems. Today, she's right back up to the top 10. So we should see what she can do in round 2 of the championship. But Rory Hudson leads by 100th of a second to Mark Kimber, with Clayton Ravenscroft now third ahead of Alex Lloyd, Axel Laflamme and Reese Ojijima. Ryan Green goes through, completing his 5th qualifying lap. Up to 4th goes Alexander Wang. Rufus Hunt comes up into 11th place for Mick Barrett Racing. But now comes the cavalry, and they're starting their final qualifying lap. And it's going to be a tough one, a very tough fight as Archie Tillett comes up to 4th. Wood goes 6th. Up to the top goes Clayton Ravenscroft, the whisker in front of Risa Shijima now. Kimber 2nd initially. Alex Lloyd comes through into 2nd place. Kilner and King get the checkered flag. They can't complete another lap. They left it too long, but they are up to 3rd and 4th regardless. So Kilner gets a 58.46. King gets a 58.47. They are 3rd and 4th overall, but crucially, the remainder of the field is going to get another qualifying lap in. So this is a tough bet. It looks as though Reese Ushijima is not going to complete another lap. He's bailed out of this one, but he's got a great time, a 58.48, just a whisker shy of Nelson King. A really good qualifying effort from Ushijima for the Pierce Sexton Racing Team. Ben Hodge storms up to the top 10 with his final qualifying effort. 7th place for Mark Litchfield Racing on a 58.61. Here comes the field, though. Is Ravenscroft going to hang on to pole position in front of Alex Lloyd? Lloyd pits in, so does Ushijima. They're not going to go faster. Can Ravenscroft go faster still? No, but Kimber comes up to 2nd on a 58.41. And that's job done. So Ravenscroft is the fastest of this group. The winner from yesterday's final comes through to take pole position provisionally after the first time qualifying group in Senior X30. Kimber is 2nd in front of Alex Lloyd from Cole Kilner, Nelson King and Reese Ushijima. Then Jensen Brown, Tom Wood, Archie Tillett and Ben Hodge with Abigail Ross, Rory Hudson, Alexander Wang and Teddy Pritchard-Williams ahead of Matilda Olsen, Axel Laflamme, Rufus Hunt, Louis Maurice, Harry Barlow, Alexander Patterson, Ryan Green, Eduardo Cosseteng, Jack Gordon, Callum Driscoll, Josh Graham and Piers Henderson. And amazingly, there is a whisker over a second between all 26 of them. From Clayton Ravenscroft down to Matilda Olsen in 15th, there is less than 0.4 of a second. That is how close it is in Senior X30. You could throw a blanket over the whole field and they would be competitive with each other. It's literally who gets the best run in each sector, who gets the best run across the board. And to show you how even it is, Ravenscroft's pole position time did not include a personal best sector from the entire session. That's how close it is. He was not the fastest driver in any of the 3 sectors. So far, fastest in the first sector was Alex Lloyd with a 20.37. Fastest in the second sector was Cole Kilner, who did an 18.3. And then fastest of all in the third sector was Rory Hudson, who ended up down in 12th position overall. So that's how even it is over the course of this qualifying group. There's about 0.3 of a second covering 15 drivers at the front end, and they're all so evenly matched that it literally comes down to hundredths of a second. There is a 1/10 of a second covering Ravenscroft, Kimber, Lloyd, Kilner, King, and Ushijima. The top 6 are covered by a 1/10. And if you consider that it doesn't even take, it's basically a 1/10 of a second is less time than it takes to wink. That is incredibly quick between them all. Absolutely sensational. Green flags around the circuit once again, as the drivers are obviously now finishing up. There is still a yellow flag we can see up at Bobby Game Corner. So I wonder if one of the drivers just broke down at the end of qualifying there. I can't see anything, but then that is a very distant vantage point from my commentary box position. So I can't really see anything there. Although it could well be that somebody has ended up coming off the road at that particular point. Yellow flags are still there, and now they go green, so we are now a clear circuit once again. But the winner from yesterday's final, Clayton Ravenscroft, sets the initial pole position time in Senior X30 time qualifying Group 3, Session 3 I should say, because we are also including the 2 timed qualifying sessions from yesterday in that, although today we are obviously wiping the slate clean, and the results from yesterday are a separate entity to the ones from today. It is round 1 yesterday, round 2 today, so it's a fresh time qualifying, fresh heats, fresh round. The points from yesterday's race count to the championship from the final and the repechage, but now, of course, it's time to go racing properly for round 2. Senior X30 time qualifying Group 4 gets underway. The green flag flies, and as is now normal in Senior X30, the field does not swarm out straight away. In fact, only 2 of them emerge as the green flag flies, and they are Tom Nippers and Lee Chamberlain. But the rest of them have all got a very tall order. They wait for their moment, you see. There's only 6 minutes of qualifying, but all the seniors just seem to wait until a big name goes out Ollie Greetham heads out onto the circuit, then Sean Butcher, and that appears to be the catalyst for the next few drivers to head out. I think they've all realised that there were quite a few drivers that missed out on time qualifying for an additional lap by waiting, and now they all filter out onto the circuit. Even Westover, Caroline Candice, they come out onto the circuit. Now, I'm wondering about Lewis Gilbert. So far, I'm not seeing anything, so I wonder if his wrist is too badly damaged from yesterday's fourth heat crash to continue for the rest of the weekend. I'm not seeing him come out, and to be fair, he would have done by now. So I fear that the Dorai Diamond is not going to be taking any further part in the weekend, and that is a disaster for the European Junior Champion. So Tom Nippers comes through to start his qualifying run. For the record, their first lap around the circuit is 1:04.29, but the pole position time from Ravenscroft earlier was a 58.38. So that gives you an indication of just how different the lap times are going to be. What was the qualifying lap from yesterday? Well, Gus Lawrence's time was a 57.51. So technically, there is a lot of time to find around this circuit. But if the circuit is genuinely about a second slower today than it was yesterday, then Ravenscroft is sitting quite pretty. But there is a genuine possibility that the drivers in this field can go faster still. For the record, the first qualifying lap completed, which is the slowest one of everybody's. Oliver Hodgson is fastest from Derek Morgan and Matt Armstrong. Then Thomas Turner and Callum Barnett from Charles Lamb, Lewis Malin, Matthew Hudson, Sean Butcher, and in the top 10, Louis Westover. However, those times are going to pale into insignificance right about now, because Nippers comes through and gets into the 1:01 mark. Lee Chamberlain comes through on 60.39. But this whole cavalry of karts that are coming through down the main straight this time by, there's going to be a whole raft of them that will be under 60 seconds. And the first of those is Sean Butcher, the Australian. Matt Armstrong now comes up to the top on a 59.2. Oliver Hodgson goes 59 dead instantly. And Morgan comes up to a 58.95. So we're already in the ballpark of the time set by Clayton Ravenscroft. Derek Morgan, a 58.95 in front of Gus Lawrence, who immediately does a 58.96. Then Hodgson, Turner, Harvey, Porter, Matt Armstrong, and Lewis Malin. And then it is Alex Pendlebury and Roman LaRue in the top 10 from Luke Whitehead, Louis Westover, Callum Barnett, Charlie Lamb, and Matthias Zagazeta. All 15 of those covered by less than half a second at the moment. So it's really quite tight at the top end of the field. Tom Nippers, the Welshman, comes up into 9th place. Good work from the privateer. Derek Morgan is likewise a private entry, as he is on the top spot at the moment. Always very tough for the privateers to come up to first position against the might of the big teams, so it's always a great achievement when they've done so. Sean Butcher goes top 6, Charlie Lamb goes fastest, Matt Armstrong goes faster still, Hodgson to 2nd, Hudson to 4th, Turner comes up to 3rd place, Morgan now goes P5, Pendlebury displaces him, Whitehead to 3rd, and then Gus Lawrence to pole on a 58.44. And that's only 600ths off Clayton Ravenscroft's mark. Matt Armstrong 2nd then by 400ths of a second to Gus Lawrence. Oliver Hodgson is a 10th back from Lawrence. Then it's Harvey, Westover, Porter, Whitehead, then the Peruvian, Matthias Zagazeta, Thomas Turner, Alex Pendlebury, Charles Lamb, Roman LaRue, the Frenchman, and Derek Morgan from Matthew Hudson. Callum Barnett from the Isle of Man. Max Jean, the Jersey racer. Up goes Tom Nippers into 16th place as he goes past the line. The Welshman displaces them. So let's see what happens in this last minute and a half of the time qualifying session for Senior X30. Gus Lawrence is just 600ths of a second off the mark of Clayton Ravenscroft. But because it's so close, it's still only good enough for 3rd overall. Is there going to be a time that smashes Ravenscroft? Yes, there is! Oliver Hodgson, a 58.27. He's ultimate pole. Malin goes faster still, a 58.21. Morgan's gone up to 3rd. Lawrence goes up to 2nd place. Ravenscroft's time is going to be decimated by this group. Lewis Malin in 1st. Westover now comes up to 2nd. 200ths back on a 58.23. Lawrence is 3rd from Hodgson 4th. Harvey 5th. Morgan 6th. Porter 7th. Matthias Zagazeta and Thomas Turner are both on a 58.37. Zagazeta is 8th. Turner is 9th. And Ravenscroft has plunged down to 10th overall. It's a nightmare for the first group, because the second group are so much faster. And it's because they didn't dilly-dally around on their first flying lap. So here they come again. Lewis Malin on the top spot at the moment from Louis Westover and Gus Lawrence. Then it's Oliver Hodgson and Elliot Harvey from Derek Morgan, Morgan Porter, Matthias Agazeta, Thomas Turner and Luke Whitehead now. A whisker off that mark from Ravenscroft. They come through and there goes Hudson into the top 10. Turner moves up to 6th place. Malin gets a 58.21. Luke Whitehead goes 2nd. Lawrence gets up to 1st. Harvey goes pole in front of Morgan Porter now. From Matthias Agazeta up to 4th. Westover goes 2nd. And now there is not a single driver from Group 1 in the overall top 10. Elliot Harvey's pulled out a 57.98 as they go into their final qualifying lap. So Harvey is going to be pole at the moment from his teammate at Dan Holland Racing, Louis Westover. The two of them are on the front row ultimate, but can Morgan Porter or yesterday's pole sitter Gus Lawrence do anything about it? There's 0.2 of a second between the field. Nippers finishes up. The best he'll get is 18th, a 58.64. Over the line for Chamberlain. The best he'll have is a 23rd, a 59.41. That's still only 1.4 behind Elliot Harvey, though. Again, indication of just how close it is. Across the line, here's Hodgson. Can he get pole? No, and Harvey has pitted in. He's not going to continue on again. Malin goes 2nd, Turner goes 3rd. Will anyone get pole? Pendlebury to 3rd. Lawrence to pole position, a 57.94 for Gus Lawrence. He's done it again. Westover beats him. Westover to pole position. Brilliant final lap from Westover, a 57.93 by 100th of a second. Louis Westover grabs pole position for the Senior X30. Gus Lawrence is 2nd. Harvey bailing out of his final lap, but still 3rd. And then Lewis Malin from Alex Pendlebury and Thomas Turner. Morgan Porter 7th from Luke Whitehead. Then it is Matthias Agazeta and Derek Morgan. And all 10 of them are covered by 0.28. That is so ridiculously close. 11th is Oliver Hodgson. Matthew Hudson 12th from Matt Armstrong and Roman LaRue. From Max Jean and Callum Barnett. Then Sean Butcher, Henry Ayers, Tom Nippers, Charles Lamb, Caroline Candas, the French lady, and then Ollie Greetham, Cameron Coombs, and Lee Chamberlain, with no time set by the Dolrye Diamond, Lewis Gilbert, the reigning European Junior X30 champion, after his incident yesterday at the first corner of the 4th heat, where he damaged his wrist and sadly will not take any further part in the meeting. A big, big shock with Lewis Gilbert gone from the fray after his problems yesterday, and now he will have to emerge at the 2nd round of the championship for Shennington next month, and that's going to be a very difficult battle for all of the drivers as they battle away for proceedings. So that's obviously going to be very tricky and very technical for all of the drivers to catch up to, but the main effect is that Louis Westover is now pole position for the Dan Holland Racing squad. An amazing lap time from him. He can be really happy about that with a 57.93. The top 10 drivers in this qualifying group smashing the pace from the first-time qualifying group. Clayton Ravenscroft's pole position from his first-time qualifying group pales into insignificance as he drops out of the top 10. So we'll see plenty of fightbacks from the Time 1 group a little bit later on in the day. There's just one qualifying group, though, for the Mini X30 Brigade, as there is enough to fill a single solitary grid, and it is them that will come out on circuit next for time qualifying. It's going to be such an interesting battle after what we saw from Mini X30 yesterday. Evidently, it looks as though 5 drivers are going to be competing and battling for that title, essentially. And it means we're going to see some really exciting battles from them as they duke away for pole position. So we will give them a chance to dial themselves up, ready for an intense battle. Let's give you a review at what happened yesterday. In time qualifying, it was Oliver Greenall, the man who went unbeaten in the Trent Valley Kart Club Winter Series, winning every single final over the course of the last 4 months, who grabbed pole position initially yesterday from Alfie Rigby, Luke Watts, Ed Pearson, Theo McCurris and Jessica Edgar. It looks as though the championship battle is going to be between those 6 drivers because they've been consistently the top 6 drivers in this group. Greenall, Rigby, Watts, Pearson, McCurris, Edgar. I think it's going to be between those 6 drivers who wins the title. In the first heat, it went the way of Alfie Rigby in front of Greenall and Edgar. Watts, Pearson and McCurris were next up. And then in the second heat, Rigby held on again from Oliver Greenall with Luke Watts in P3, Ed Pearson, Theo McCurris, and Marcus Lizio managing to break in front of Jessica Edgar. And then we had our final, which was another devastatingly close battle, which saw Alfie Rigby take all 3 races over the course of the final. and then Luke Watts and Theo Mercouris were the ones chasing him in the top 3 positions. A really fascinating battle, and Jessica Edgar coming through to 4th position in front of Ed Pearson, and Olivier Algieri breaking into the top 6 after a late penalty for Oliver Greenall that dropped him down to the 10th position mark. So he's got some progress to make up from the final, and it'll be really exciting to see what sort of gains he can make as the Mini X30 drivers, well, 2 of them head out on circuit. Only JJ Russell and Ashton Parsons have headed out on circuit thus far, and those are the 2 that are still learning on the job and are trying to make progress. Theo Mercouris decides to head out first, and that's the catalyst for all of the others to break out onto the circuit. They've done an absolutely fascinating battle over the course of proceedings, and now they will head out on track once again. But it's always about waiting for that one key player to head out onto the circuit, and on this particular occasion, it looks as though it's Theo Mercouris who is going to do that. So we'll see some absolutely spectacular racing from the Mini X30 drivers as they hustle in proceedings. It'll be a really close fight and a really good battle. The drivers down the back straight. A bit of a hustle in Mini X30 qualifying. 2 or 3 of them bumping and boring. The front fairings are going to be a little bit all over the place as Alfie Rigby slots himself into a good track position as far as he's concerned. And he'll want to keep good rhythm and good pace throughout. A very tricky prospect for all of the drivers. 4 minutes on the clock. And, of course, they do not have a lot of time to get things up to speed as Ashton Parsons has gone off the road at the chicane after the second sector, or in the second sector, I should say. And, unfortunately for him, that puts him on the back foot for the remainder of qualifying. And it's going to be interesting to see which drivers are going to go for an ultimate lap. I don't think Luke Watts' first flying lap is going to be particularly fast. He's still trying to put himself into a good track position. He's gone fastest of all provisionally, but that is his first run around the circuit, so it doesn't actually count for the main pole position because everybody's going to go faster than a 107.99. Just to give you an idea of how much faster, in the warm-up this morning, Jessica Edgar did a 60.70 to be fastest of the morning warm-up. Oh, that was yesterday's warm-up session. She did a 60.70. Algieri was fastest this morning on a 61.04. Time qualifying yesterday, well, Oliver Greenall did a 60.07, so they'll be flirting with the minute mark all the way through the weekend, essentially. I'm not sure anybody in Mini X30 has actually broken the 60-second barrier yet. They've all come very close, but not quite. Theo Mercouris, I think. Oh, no, sorry. Oliver Greenall in practice on Friday did do a 59.71, and then Jessica Edgar did a 59.62 in timed qualifying, in the practice session, sorry. So the fastest driver of the entire weekend then is actually Jessica Edgar, but there's obviously a lot of time to make up. JJ Russell has done a lap of a 103.81. Oliver Greenall in second place on a 103.94. From Alexander Renner, Ashton Parsons, Gabriel Stilp, Dan Bolton, Jessica Edgar and Marcus Luzio. So fastest of the entire meeting has been Jessica Edgar. On Friday in the 4th practice session, she was faster than anybody else, and they did break into the below 60 seconds. Whether they'll get a chance to do that in qualifying or not remains to be seen, really. They're in the 102s at the moment, or at least JJ Russell is. The others are still in the 103s for their first flying lap, but now they're going to go for a really strong pace from this qualifying lap, so we're going to see what happens as the drivers come across the line. We've only got a minute 45 left for the session. So essentially they're going to get this lap and then just about one more, I think. I'm not sure they're going to have time for any major changes. So we'll see what happens when the drivers come through down the straight and over the line. It's going to be a good lap from Aidan Line, who goes up to the top. Luke Watts goes fastest of all. Jessica Edgar pops up to second place. JJ Russell still third. From Aidan Line, Evan Brown, Olivia Algieri, Theo Mercouris, Antonio Sofronio, Alfie Rigby and Oliver Greenall. But Luke Watts is currently the top spot. JJ Russell comes up to second now on a 102.45. But JJ Russell has been out there one lap longer than the other drivers, as has Ashton Parsons. But now we're going to get to see the real flavour of the races as the drivers are putting on a very spectacular show. They will want to get good rhythm and good pace as they position themselves into the mix. This is going to be a tricky one from here on out. Can they get a fast lap time? They've obviously got to manoeuvre track position. They're only going to get one more chance at it because of the way that the session is filtered out. They're going to come across the line with about 30 seconds to go, and that means they'll only have one more flying lap after this one, so it's only 2 laps, really, that will assess the qualifying pace of Mini X30. Who's going to get provisional pole? Across the line, and Edgar goes fastest, but Olivier Algieri goes faster still. Edgar now second in front of Alfie Rigby. Pearson is fourth from Lucio and Luke Watts, but Olivier Algieri is at the top at the moment on a 61.06. Then Jess Edgar on a 61.22. Alfie Rigby is third from Pearson, Lucio, Watts, Makuris, Bolton, Renner and Aidan Line. It's a horrifying session at the moment for Oliver Greenall, who has only come through on a 63.94. He's at the back of the queue, so he's got to deliver in this one-time lap. He's only got one shot to get up to the front end of the field. He is currently at the back of the grid. So this is going to be an amazing effort from Oliver Greenall if he can get up to the top spot. He has found clean air at the back of the queue, but he needs to be careful he's not compromised in the final sector. So far, so good from Greenall. He's been personal best in both the first and second sectors, but this is going to be an interesting challenge. The checkered flag flies. Can Luke Watts get back to pole position? He's 6th at the moment. Over the line. Yes, fastest, but Algieri pips him. Edgar third. Pearson goes second. Makuris up to third place now. Rigby comes through to 5th. What about Greenall? Greenall goes 5th. 5th fastest. That's a great recovery from Oliver Greenall, but it's pole position for Olivier Algieri. Olivier Algieri goes through to first position in front of Edward Pearson, then Theo Makuris, Luke Watts, Oliver Greenall, and Alfie Rigby with Jessica Edgar in 7th. As I talked about the top 6 being Pearson, Makuris, Watts, Greenall, Rigby, Edgar for 2019, Olivier Algieri clearly has other ideas and bags pole position by 0.13. Makuris third from Watts, Greenall, Rigby and Edgar. Lucio is 8th from Ian Aguilera and Alexander Renner. Then Bart Harrison, Dan Bolton, Evan Brown, Aidan Line, JJ Russell, Antonis Sofronio, Gabriel Stilp, and Ashton Parsons. Really exciting stuff, and an indication that we're going to have 20 mega races from the IAME classes in this second round of the championship as we kick off the Motorsport UK British Car Championship season in style this weekend. Round 1 was pretty good yesterday. I think we're going to up tempo again for round 2. Join us again at about 10 past 11 as we get ourselves ready for the heats. Then there's going to be 13 of them as we build up to the point scoring finals later on this afternoon from the second round of the Motorsport UK British Car Championships at IAME in the PF International Circuit.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.